Since we've only got 5 minutes here, let's just get straight into it. Starting with design, it's literally just a small aluminium box. It takes up almost no desk real estate and just looks so industrial and minimal. Now, I've had a range of different custom-built PCs on my desk in the past, but this Mac Studio beats them all in terms of pure looks and footprint. Now, there are intake grills on the bottom that pulls fresh air into the chassis, which is then exhausted directly out the back. Now, I'm not too sure how dust buildup over the years will affect this machine, and getting into the chassis to actually clean out all of that dust is very, very difficult. So just something to keep in mind, especially if you live in a very dusty environment. Now, moving on to ports, I think you'll find the port selection really, really solid, especially if you're coming from a MacBook or a Mac Mini. You've got 4 Thunderbolt ports on the back paired with a 10 gigabit Ethernet port, and that allows for a serious amount of connectivity. Although I was disappointed to see that, yet again, Apple has only included HDMI 2.0 instead of 2.1. Now, this isn't a massive issue because, let's be honest, you'll probably be connecting a monitor via Thunderbolt or USB-C, but just be aware of that limitation. And this will likely only impact you if you want to use a 4K high refresh panel like the Eve Spectrum 4K via HDMI. Moving to the front, there are an additional 3 ports, an SDXC card slot, and either 2 additional Thunderbolt ports on the Ultra version or 2 10 gigabit per second USB-C ports on the Max version. And yes, each of these Thunderbolt ports get their own separate bus. Okay, let's have a quick chat about performance. Now, the reality is, guys, a lot of you won't be able to take advantage of the sheer power and performance that specifically the M1 Ultra version of this machine can produce. Don't forget, the Mac Studio is typically aimed at professional users like video editors, music producers, designers, or even small to mid-sized production businesses who need a fair amount of performance. I made a video comparing the M1 Ultra Mac Studio to a base model M1 Mac Mini, and while the Mac Mini obviously got destroyed, it still held up fairly well in most tasks, despite it being 6 times cheaper. And the Mac Studio, again, specifically the Ultra version, is specifically for those people who know how to push either their workflows or their software to the absolute limit to take full advantage of all the sheer performance this machine has to offer. Now, this M1 Ultra version is definitely overkill for my needs. The M1 Max chip on my 16-inch MacBook Pro can handle all of my multicam 4K video editing and Photoshop and Lightroom needs, for example, with ease. So if you're looking to buy a Mac Studio, make sure you do a fair bit of research into either choosing the Max or the Ultra chip, because a lot of people are going to be fine with the Max chip, and there's no point wasting all of that money on the Ultra chip when you can spend it on additional RAM or SSD storage, for example. And if you're wondering how the M1 Ultra Mac Studio stacks up against an Intel 12900K and RTX 3080 PC, well, they're actually pretty comparable in most workflows, with the exception of 3D modeling and also gaming. So that's one thing to consider if you're deciding between platforms, and the other thing is that even when under full load, this machine produces barely any heat and barely any fan noise. Seriously, like I can be gaming on this machine for hours or rendering 8K videos out, completely silent, no heat or anything like that. And that's actually a game changer for a lot of people. Now, there are also a couple of things you should consider before making your purchase decision. If you're intending to do anything 3D related, like on Cinema 4D or Blender, you're much better off going with a PC with an RTX GPU. This is simply because those workflows are not yet optimized for Apple Silicon, and also for the same optimization reasons gaming still sucks, even on the powerful M1 Ultra chip with maxed out GPU cores. So don't think you can ditch your PC and combine everything into your new Mac Studio. And I go into much more detail on why this is the case on my RTX PC versus Mac Studio video, so I will link that video down below. Also, the storage is not upgradable on the Mac Studio, which I think is a little restrictive, seeing as the form factor is much bigger than a laptop, and there are literally physical SSD ports on the logic board inside the chassis. Apple has, of course, restricted SSD changes via software, so even though it might physically look like it's possible, it's not, at least at this point in time. So yeah, I think it is a very solid device, and I think it's going to be very tempting for a lot of people. Price to performance is actually quite good too, especially when compared to an equivalent PC, mainly due though to the massively marked up PC component prices we're seeing currently. Although price to performance is not quite as good as other Apple Silicon Macs, like the M1 Mac Mini or even the M1 Pro MacBook, because they essentially use the same M1 chip and are already really powerful in their own right. Apart from that guys, thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.